permission of the data source. And so that's what provides some of the security to the data that's flowing through the network. It's all standards-based. So one of the things that tends to happen over time is that you can make a lot of improvements to your internal operation, but and they may be very good ones. But if you're making those changes with proprietary technology, then it's really almost impossible for your customers or your trading partners to benefit from that. So what ends up happening is you have over-engineered islands of efficiency, which, if you look at the entire supply chain, they really don't provide the level of optimization across the supply chain that standards-based solutions can. On the other side of this, you have this distributor, the operator. They're known as the data recipients. They need a single point of truth, knowing that regardless of who the manufacturer is, regardless of who I'm sourcing that data from, I am assured that this is based on the same information that the data source is operating with. Again, so standards-based, so whether there are changes to standard or migration, I migrate along with them, and I'm not held to a captive island, so to speak. All right, now, the last slide that I wanted to leave you with here is selecting a GDSN data pool. One slide on that, wanted to keep it brief. You know, think of this as selecting any service provider or IT provider or solution provider. You want to make sure of some specific things. Number one, that you understand what you're able to do, you know, your limitations from an IT perspective and a process perspective, and that you understand what they're able to do for you, that you understand also additional value-added services. Every data pool performs additional value-added services beyond the simple act of synchronizing data through the network for you. So you want to understand that. You want to understand their offerings and ensure that they're complementary with your internal capabilities, not only from a technology perspective, from a process perspective as well. And it's like any typical relationship that you would enter with the solution provider. If you do business with someone, for example, like an IBM or SAP, you go through a lot of this internally, so this is very similar. Do they have experience in your industry? Do they have experience in food service? It's important to know that. If they do they have customer references? And even if they don't, do they have customer references that they can give you that you can talk to and have a candid conversation about what it took to onboard and how it all works? This next area is really important. Do they provide training and support? There will undoubtedly be a tremendous amount of support that the data pool can give you and that you will need as you transition from whatever system you may be using to an open standard-based system. And so it's important to understand their local support that they can provide you. If you're manufacturing, you're operating in multiple parts of the world, then is there support in those other countries for you as well? And that's important to understand. And this last bullet point is something that is extremely important, and I don't think and historically that we as an industry have really spent a lot of time talking about this. I'm glad to see that we are now. And it's the area of master data management. And so I mentioned companies like SAP and IBM and Oracle, and there are many, many others. I don't mean to exclude anyone from this, but this last area is very important because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that the adoption of standards and your internal systems are compatible, that the data structures are the same, that they all speak the same language, so to speak. So you want to understand that as well. You want to understand what you're using internally and then how that links up with your data pool. There's a full list of GSN certified data pools in this website, so feel free to visit it, and there's additional information there if you like. That's all from me. That was my side of it. That's my contact information. I'm going to switch over to Dennis' presentation now, Stacy, and I'm assuming this is going to work flawlessly, just like it did when we tested it. And you should be able to see Dennis' presentation now.
Okay. We do. Thanks.
Thanks, Pete. Well, Pete walked through how the systems work. Again, what Pete talked about was GTIN, which is Global Trade Item Number. That's a number to identify products. He talked about GLNs, Global Location Number, to identify locations. And he spent a considerable amount of time talking about GDSN, Global Data Synchronization Network, how we keep all that information accurate and keep it together. I'm going to switch gears a little bit now. I'm going to talk about the food service initiative that we started in 2009 in the U.S. It's an initiative to help make all this happen in the food service category. So let's see here. So what we have today is we'll talk about the initiative, we'll talk about roadmaps and milestones, some of the things that have happened so far, and we'll talk about the priorities both for 2010 as we finish up those priorities and move into 2011. So let's begin with the initiative. The initiative really started out of the food service groups, the companies, recognizing a couple of things. First of all, food safety, extremely important. We all know about the recalls that have occurred in many areas in food service. I mean, one of the last ones was this whole peanut recall. And not only does it affect the manufacturer, we know it affects everybody who uses those products. And so again, the initiative said, well, one of the things that we need to do is we need to have better ways of tracing food substances, and we need a better way of recalling them when errors do occur. Brand protection was another issue. If I'm a operator, I'm ordering ketchup, it's important which brand of ketchup I'm ordering. And so again, not only do I want to talk about ketchup, I want to talk about specifically which ketchup it is, which is, again, this is the point that Pete was making about G10s and G10s identifying very specific products. And then consumer confidence. More and more consumers are wanting to know, do the food substances that they are eating, do they have allergens, nutritional value? What are the things that are important to the consumer today? And more, the consumer is more interested in exactly what's in this food substance. The food service initiative, like I said, started in 2009. It includes everything, and I don't tell people on this call this, restaurants, schools, hospitals, cafeterias. I mean, it's very, very broad, touches on lots and lots of areas, including, in some cases, retail. The community has exchanged data, as Pete mentioned, in a variety of ways in the past, but the information really hasn't been standardized. This causes confusion with different legacy numbering systems. Data maintenance is very, very difficult, and so again, in the initiative, we recognize that we need to get our arms around this. We need to start standardizing what we're calling our products and standardizing our locations, standardizing the information so that we can all benefit from the efficiencies to be gained there. The supply chain is very different from grocery and CPG, and yet, like I said earlier, a lot of the food service companies are also involved with grocery and CPG. So in a lot of cases, the use of G10s and GLNs is not new. Take a company like Kraft, for example, and they're involved with CPG, grocery, as well as food service. And that would apply to a lot of other companies, I'm sure, on the call today. Okay, the Food Service Initiative started out with 64 founding members. These were people that joined the initiative in 2010. The founding members are represented from manufacturers, distributors, and operators. So it's the whole supply chain in food service across the board. It's endorsed by the big three food service associations, IFMA, International Food Service Manufacturers, IFTA, the International Food Service Distributors, and NRA, the National Restaurant Association. On this page, what we're looking at are the founding members, those 64 members. You can see just a glance at this list